Hello and welcome to the first episode of Declassified. My name is Dawn Pierce, and before we begin today's episode, I'd like to read a couple disclosures and warnings. The first is the warning of the topics we are about to discuss contains violence and strong language. If you are under the age of 18, parental guidance is advised. The fair use notice. This presentation may contain copyrighted material, the use of which has not always been specifically authorized by the copyright owner. We're making such material available in effort to inform the citizens of not just South Carolina, but the United States of problems within the state and the school system, the public school system. We believe this constitutes a fair use of any such copyrighted material as provided for in Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Law in accordance with Title 17, Section 107. The material on the show is distributed without profit at this time for informing purposes only. Copyright notice, this podcast and its content belong to Declassified 2023. All rights are reserved. You may not accept with written permission, distribute, or commercially exploit the content, nor may you transmit it or store it in any other website or other form of electronic retrieval system other than its source of origin. The opinions expressed by guests or callers are those of individuals alone and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views, policies, or positions of Declassified or its host. With that being said, today's episode is going to be the class of 2020 and 2021 and some of the issues that they faced while they were actually in public school system. They've chosen not to show their names and their faces at this time because of the sensitive subjects that we're about to discuss. With that being said, we will let you know that they all are over the age of 18 and they have graduated from the school system. So with that being said, we're going to continue with our show. Is everyone here?
Yep.
Okay, and thank you. I appreciate y'all for coming forward and speaking on the show. And I just want to interview a little bit, ask a couple questions of all of you. So Ashley, what year did you graduate from? Do you want to say what school you graduated from?
Yeah, that's fine. I graduated from White Knoll High in 2021.
Okay. And Quantavius, which year did you graduate and what school did you graduate from?
I graduated from White Knoll High. I was supposed to be a part of the class of 2020, but I graduated in December of 2019.
Okay. And Vibin, when did you graduate? And do you want to say where you graduated from?
I graduated the class of 2020, and I graduated from White Knoll High School.
Okay, so we got a whole bunch of Timberwolves here. So I just want to thank you again for coming forward. And I just want to make parents aware, as a parent, this is a reason that I've actually decided to do this podcast because we've been here in Lexington, South Carolina for about 15 years, and our kids have been part of the school system since we've moved here. And we've known that this was supposed to be all these award-winning schools, and we felt blessed to be able to put our kids in these school systems. But as we had put them in, it seemed like the issues on different things had built through the years. But right before COVID, we had a lot of things going on. It seemed that there was issues that we weren't prepared to deal with. One of them being some safety issues and other issues such as attempted school shootings and heightened awareness from when the Parkland shooting happened in February 14, 2018. So there was issues that White Knoll has dealt with in 2019 and 2020 and 2021 and so on. There's been all kinds of threats. Besides that, we also have these kids went through the time when COVID had come out and how it affected them, because we don't realize, even as parents, what these kids actually missed out on. I don't know if it's even affected them yet of what they're missing out on or what they missed out on before they were ready to graduate and to go on. So before we get there, I have a couple questions for everybody. I just want to ask at a time, different things about the school system. So Ashley, did you always go to school in Lexington 1?
For all of high school, I went to White Knoll High, yes, in Lexington 1.
Okay, for grade school, elementary, were you around here or?
Elementary, no. I was in Richland District 2, and for the beginning of my middle school, I was in Richland 2 as well, and then I transferred to Lexington 1.
Now, there is a lot of talk of a lot of different things that happened in Richland too, even recently. How was Richland 2 for you? I mean, as far as a student, did you feel that you got the education? What was your classes like, class size wise? I mean, did you feel that you had any issues with anything at the Richland 2 schools?
Well, so my big issue that I had was in 6th grade. Basically, I got extremely bullied out of school to the point of my 7th grade year, I got homeschooled, and nearly failed.
Okay, and so what do they have you like on a homebound?
My parents like fully pulled me out of school
Okay,
to
so you
go to Connect, I believe it was called.
Okay, yeah, I think it's Connections Academy, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So this is not the first, and this is why I want to get into this because the schools, as far as the bullying policies go that they have, they've tried to enforce other things as far as they say they have a no bully policy, but I believe that that policy actually is just they protect it a little bit further from people seeing what goes on because I know this from my own child. But in your perspective, do you feel like kids just pick anything to bully over, or how did the school treat you? Like, did your parents go up there? Like, what happened?
I remember my parents going up there several times trying to talk to the school about this issue, and the school never did anything to help me.
Did they have you fill out any kind of forms? Did you speak with an SRO? Like, what did they do?
Nope, I never spoke to anybody, never filled out any forms. They were just kind of like, oh, well, we'll try to, stop that from happening and blah, 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 and just made all of these excuses, and it never stopped.
Was it one offender? Was it many people? Did they move you to other classrooms? Like, did they
It
try to
was
do
many, and I never got moved classes or anything.
Okay, so they didn't really do anything, which is known, even in our case. So you went back into school when?
I went, I don't remember what year it was, but I went back for a second round of 7th grade in White Knoll Middle.
Okay, and you said at that point you were basically failing, correct?
I failed at Connections Academy, and that's why I had to restart 7th grade.
So do you feel if you were in a classroom, you would have been able to actually obtain the information better than doing something that Connection Academy offered?
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's the thing is a lot of people say, well, if you don't like something, homeschool. And homeschooling is not for everybody, especially with kids. Some kids can't learn that way. And that's the thing is that we need kids being able to be inside a classroom because they can't always obtain the same information the same way. So so you went back into school at White Knoll Middle School, 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that it was different over there than Richland too?
I did feel that it was different because I didn't have the same experience at White Knoll as I did in Richland.
Okay.
I didn't get bullied as much, I guess, is
But you
an
still
easy
got
way to
bullied?
here and there, but not to the same degree at all.
Okay. And any of those issues, did your parents bring it up, or did you just kind of like grin and bear it after everything you've been through?
I just kind of kept it to myself at that point.
Okay. And all right, I just want to make a point of that because, we know that bullying happens everywhere, but I don't know if you know what their policy is right now. They don't consider something bullying if it doesn't happen daily by the same person. So if they take a break in between that week, it's not really bullying.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's nothing really it seems like nothing really much has changed in that sense. And I'm sorry you went through that. And there's a lot of other kids that go through it. And there's parents that are at wit's end. I mean, there's so many different degrees of bullying, but it's still all bullying as far as I'm concerned. So I thank you for speaking on that. Quintavious, I want to talk to you now. Hello.
All right, sorry.
That's all right. So I kind of want to ask you the same thing. Did you go through all of Lexington One schools before you graduated from White Knoll?
No. Oh, to my memory, to my best, ability, I started with Richland 1, and
Okay.
then I kind of bounced all over the districts.
Okay.
Was like, I want to say both, bounced between both Richland 1 and Lexington 1 throughout my entire school days.
Right. And did you feel like you got a good education when you were in there?
Absolutely not.
No. I mean, I know you're a smart kid. That's why I asked. So you feel like you did like a lot of like self-research more than what the school challenged you with?
Yes, mainly just going out on my own because many of these schools, I guess their really big motive is to just push, oh, we need to get these kids in and out our doors, show off our graduation rates and stuff like that, and how we are improving the education in our area. But some of the things that they require us as, students to do may not correlate to, quote unquote, good grades, good academics and stuff like that.
Well, I know right now what they're doing, and I don't know if they did it when you guys were there, is they're literally giving the answers to the kids. So say you have a test on something, and I know we used to have open book or something like that sometime, but say you are learning something and you have a test on it. If you don't get the answers right, they give you as many chances as you need to go and fix that. And they're also giving you a key to what the tests are going to be, the answers on another piece of paper. So if you're not aware of that, that's what's happening because their test scores are really low. Brooke and Casey actually lost their accreditation because the kids were failing in that school. And I'm seeing that happen a lot in now Lexington 1 and Richland 2, and also in Lexington 2, is that is the problem, is that they do not know the stuff. They're just doing the No Child Left Behind and pushing kids on. And kids that actually have a learning disability, they don't discover they have a learning disability and they're graduating school and then they're trying to go to college and they don't realize what the problem is. So do you feel like did you have any issues as far as with your education or any of your teachers while you were at any of the schools?
Some problems here and there. Like, obviously, if you were to go to a teacher and try to have a one-on-one session, it would be really hard to try and set up that resource. Because even me as a kid, I want to say I had troubles, getting certain things on tests right, or memorizing this equation, or, getting some help while I'm not in class due to certain distracting events, like maybe kids are too riled up, or teacher doesn't get a hit on certain key notes throughout the day that you just didn't get to go home with. Maybe you just don't really get the material that you really need because teachers gotta worry about the classroom that's really packed with kids and not really individual students that are doing poorly in the class.
How many kids would you say was about roughly in your classes?
For like each class, I want to say there had to be at least like 30 to like 35 kids in one room. Least I could usually remember is around 20 to probably 17 per classroom.
Mm-hmm. And that was the smaller classrooms.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And did you discover or have any problems with things? Did you see anything basically while you were in, say, high school that you felt wasn't right, either with things going on? I mean, every school has issues with drugs and stuff with bullying and all kinds of things like that. But I do know that there was stuff with some teachers knowing of different things too. And did you have any of that when you were in school, or anything that you were made aware of?
Lots of incidents with bullying, and not just your normal name calling and or hazing is just straight on. Either physical contact, it's an everyday thing, and it doesn't stop whenever you leave the facility.
Right.
And another big thing was, let's see if I can remember here, there was a lot of pregnancies and whatnot at that high school one year. And I think they did a really poor job of driving home the whole sex ed problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do you feel they treated those girls any differently? Or, I mean, did they finish school? Did they quit? Do you know anything about
nobody
that?
knew. Like, it would be, you could see the student at school one week, they'll be gone the next, or they might be there for a few months, they'll be gone. No one heard from them. Like, it's a really wishy-washy type of
Yeah.
situation.
Do
And
you think
also
were they
another,
hazed? Were they
oh,
hazed at
sorry,
all? I'm sorry, were the girls hazed for being pregnant? Do you know?
possibly. I
Mhm.
remember a lot of incidents going down because of stuff like that. I knew I wasn't the only person that saw a lot of stuff happen on campus. Also, a lot of, what do you want to call them? These essentially adult hall monitors
Mhm.
would also mess with a lot of students.
Really?
Because even though, yes, you have your out of the regular and, irate students, they would usually come after people that were just easy to grasp, like maybe they're late to class. If
Mhm.
they're, if they're usually late for class and whatnot, they would just get you for no reason. Like, you could literally be in the
Target you?
classroom and they saw you come in last second. Oh, you got to get out of the classroom. You got to go to ISS. We'll see you tomorrow. And it's just like, there's a lot of targeting there that should have not happened.
Mhm. Do you think there was a lot of things that went on too? Because I asked people, um, you know, Lexington one is really a mixed bag of different people now because everybody has come from different areas. And, um, you know, my children, well, my daughter mostly was bullied because she is mixed. So did you feel like you saw a lot of people being bullied that were maybe mixed or of a different race? Did you see that too? I mean, what
Oh,
happened?
most definitely. Even
Yeah.
myself included. Like, I would have some students there, make quote unquote racist jokes towards me right out there in the open, and nothing was really done about it. I mean, like, you may have been able to report it like several different times, and it seems like there'd be a lot of inaction on the part of the school administration.
Mm.
You could
And
be Hispanic, you could be Black, you could be, Asian, and it wouldn't make a difference. There would still be derogatory and racial remarks going on, even in front of, maybe a hall monitor, maybe an
Mhm.
assistant
and the
principal,
and the
maybe a
hall monitor
teacher.
didn't do nothing. Nobody just did anything.
Absolutely nothing.
Do you think that they were afraid to say anything or do anything, or do you just think it didn't affect them, so they really didn't care?
I think it's a more of a less of kids being kids type of route,
Hmm.
and not really seeing it as this is a problem. This could affect them
Right.
after the school's over and whatnot.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think social media has made it even worse because I know a lot of things happen inside school, and then it's put on social media, some of these fights and stuff. I don't know if you're aware of something they call Fight Club. Right now, they got kids that are videotaping, and I'm hearing that some teachers know about it. They're betting on certain children. There's just different things that are going on, or they plan an attack to everybody to swarm on one person, and then somebody videotapes it and things like that. So it seems like, do you think it's gotten worse since you've been there, or do you think that it's always been the same, but more people are aware?
I believe it's always been the same.
Mhm.
I think the best that the school ever tried to do was basically change around everyone's schedule every single year.
Mhm.
Because I remember we used to have this program called independent learning, I want to say. They added a whole new block to our schedule, whereas basically you would sit in the room for like maybe 30 minutes to an hour doing
Okay.
something related to whatever thing you picked out at the beginning of the year, whether it be like a video game club, a reading club, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And really, it was just to really isolate students in a way, because we had a huge problem my freshman year with different classes mixing together, different students, you know, mixing together, having several altercations instead of the students actually using the time for, you know, studying, getting their work done and
Right.
whatnot. And I believe they thought that was a big problem, so they decided to go towards, you know, isolating students and whatnot. And I want to say even that didn't work out, because you still had big groups of students in a small classroom, like
Right.
maybe 30 to 40, and you still had problems that weren't being fixed.
Okay. And, some of it, I don't know what I did to my screen. Some of it, here I know too, is that there was kids actually denied to go to the library because of the different things that were going on. So certain kids were denied going to the library. So that, are we denying somebody from education wise, or are we denying somebody because we know that there's something going to happen? It's just there's a whole bunch of issues, but a lot of it has to do with safety. And as we get into that, before we get into the whole COVID thing, I'd like to go into some of the safety thing. Viben, are you listening?
Yep.
Okay. So I want to ask you some of the same questions. So you've done your time through Lexington 1 and all your schooling through there. And how do you feel the education was that you received through Lexington 1? Did you feel like it changed? Was it ever good at some point, got worse, that you feel like you were prepared for when you graduated?
A lot of it was bare minimum, and a lot of times, just like Quantavia said, it was just too many students to have really like one-on-one time with the teacher. It was very hard to get a one-on-one like session with the teacher, because like you said, there was about 30 to 35 students in almost each class, and that really, because it was like that all through middle school and through high school.
And I want to point out something to the people watching this. This is before we're talking about the problem with teacher retention, that we don't have enough teachers, and all this happened before COVID happened. These are what the kids are telling you. There was too many kids in a classroom and that their education was subpar. So we need to realize that these kids are telling you that they didn't get the education that they felt they deserved also too. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about your safety. You want to tell us a little bit about what happened in 2019, right before school began?
Yeah, so there was this video that went around of someone that I knew, and it was of him holding a AK-47 with a drum mag. He said, "I'm coming for you fuckers," as you army marched off into towards the door.
Okay.
And yeah, they were saying that there was a threat as like a school shooting.
Okay, so before I do have that video, and before I share that video, I do want to make a comment here is, like I said, the language might get a little bit harsh, and the video is about 4 seconds long. I'm going to play it a couple times so you can see it. The child's voice is distorted and the face is distorted because at the time he was 17. But before this video was made, there was a personal threat in a Discord. Is that correct? Was it in a Discord chat that was being sent around to everybody or something?
Yeah, it was distributed through Discord, and I think some people got it through Snapchat.
Okay, so it was distributed, and the kid used a racial name for his name on there, but people knew who he was. So let me try to find this real quick for you and pull this up so you can see for yourself.
I'm coming for you, motherfucker.
We want to thank you tonight for tuning into our episode of Declassified, and we also want to let you know about some of our advertisers. Tonight's advertiser is Travel Till Dawn. Her website is traveltill.dawn.com. You can reach her at 803-205-0888, and you can see some of the wonderful deals that she has going. And she does have some amazing deals for families. Look into vacations, Airbnb, long and short-term rentals. She is the place to go. So if you're interested in going any places like Tennessee to out of country, take a look. She got some great stuff. Our other advertiser for tonight is Dunn Property Service. If you mention this ad, you'll receive a special discount. Please call 803-560-2259 and let them know that you heard this ad on Declassified to get that evaluation. They offer free evaluations, and that's for property and lawn packages. They do anywhere from clean outs to move outs to cleans of moving in and cutting lawn and all kinds of odds and ends. And they are very reasonable in price too. We've used them ourselves, and I just want to let you know that they're a great company. If you have any further questions, there will be a link provided and a phone number at the end of this video. Thank you. And I hope you got to see that video. If not, I will have it edited in after so you can see that. It is a 4-second video. It's very scary in the sense that this was somebody that after the school was contacted, Lexington County Police was contacted, they told parents that the child was going for an evaluation, that he had no weapons, and that he was autistic. Like that excused his behavior. You can find the article. If I can, I'll piece that in afterwards. I have the article online that was done about what happened because he threatened to kill himself afterwards. But that video was sent after he supposedly had no weapons when he was trying to find out who ratted him out for doing that. So back to Vibin, I just want to ask you, when this happened, how did you feel? Like, this was like right before school started. How did you feel going on campus knowing that this threat was made not even a week or two before school started?
I mean, it was like a little unsettling, but we eventually ended up just forgetting about it just because everything with school going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you feel that Lexington 1 kind of forgot about it and your school?
Oh yeah, they definitely forgot about it.
Because as a parent, I know that we got letters saying that doorbell buzzers would be put on. Like, I mean, I've gone there to drop off food and stuff, and they just let me in and held the door open. And if you've ever been inside White Knoll, you know it's kind of like almost like a circular way. So if anybody entered the other doors, they would have access to all parts of the school. So that was not even really addressed. So after this happened, like, did you feel like everything just returned to normal? Like nothing happened, nobody brought it up?
Yeah, like maybe like the first day we were like, oh, did you hear about the school shooting threat? And we were like, yeah, we heard about it. And it just kind of went back like nothing happened.
Were you aware that he was just suspended for that year and was allowed to come back the next year?
Yeah, I heard that he got suspended. But,
yeah, but he's not expelled. It's suspended.
Yeah, no, I heard that he got suspended for like, I thought it was 2 years. But
it might have been, but I know it was like the next year he was allowed to come back and finish finish there.
But yeah, he just to say the least, he wasn't there.
Okay. And did you ever run into him outside of school or anything?
No, I didn't. I haven't seen him since like the year prior.
Mm-hmm. And,
but I did hear like a few things about him. I heard about him that he actually assaulted his girlfriend's best friend for looking at him wrong. And it really wasn't like multiple people witnessed it. So I'm like, yeah, that's believable because like I knew him and that really isn't out of his character, because he's done like many other things. Like there was an incident where he actually screamed the N-word several times in the back of the bus, and he got the entire bus stopped, and and it was just a whole fiasco.
And nobody did anything about it? The bus driver didn't do nothing?
Oh, she was like, "I will not have this language on my bus."
And that was it?
That was about it. Like, yeah, the principal came on and was like, yeah, you can't be doing that. And then that was the end of it.
Wow. Ashley or Quantavius, did either of you know who this kid was? Did you guys know him?
I knew of him, but I didn't know him personally. Like I remember people talking about him and stuff after all this happened.
And Quantavius, did you know him?
I heard about the incident through, the grapevine and whatnot, but I never knew who was actually behind it.
So let me ask you all, if they told you, being the student, if a teacher told you the reason that he didn't have anything done to him was because he had an IEP, which I don't know if you know what an IEP is, but an IEP they put in place sometimes for kids that have learning disabilities, or it could be, a whole number of different things. But do you think still he was handled fairly, being able to come back to the school, whether it be a year or two later? I mean, do you think that's right? Because they didn't feel that he had a mental disability, that he was allowed to come back. Anybody?
I personally think that he shouldn't have been allowed back at that school. But yeah, I believe he still had he was still entitled to education, but not at that campus.
Right. Well, I mean, they send a lot of kids to what do they call them, alternative school, when they've had too many fights or things like that. But this was a serious offense, and they, allowed him to come back to the school. And we got to remember, this is around the time too. Wasn't the whole thing with Dylan Roof going on around that time too?
Yeah, we had a lovely student that used to go to our school named Dylan Roof, and you know what he did. So our school doesn't have the best reputation.
Right. And so now, moving on from a little bit from that, I just have some questions. And I mean, I know it probably affected everybody differently or not at all, but as a parent, I know it affected us. When COVID all of a sudden happened, that was in March that this virus had come in. I can remember being sent an email just briefly that there would be no more school going on at this time, and they'd, let us know further. Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys are all jumping up and down for joy at some point, but then when you realize, wait a minute, this is, like what was your thought? Like all of your thoughts, what was it when you first realized, hey, wait, we've got this? Were you scared knowing that there's this pandemic going on? Did you think about your education? That's like one of the first questions I want to ask. Did you think about what was going to happen with you or your friends, or were you going to die? Did you, how did you feel?
For me personally, when the pandemic first hit, like you said, like when we first got the email of like, oh, we're gonna have the next 2 weeks off of school, like of course everybody was like all excited. And then after like the next couple of weeks, it started to really set in that, this is a serious thing that's going on, and it started to get really scary. Yeah.
Like, what did you all think when you were told, remote learning? Like you were telling me, Ashley, that you had a hard time doing Connections Academy. Do you feel like your education, when you had to go on to remote learning, do you feel like your education suffered in that time because you didn't have a teacher there to help teach you during this time?
It 100% suffered. I really struggled getting through that in my senior year, and it was a very difficult time for me.
Did I, don't try to, upset anybody, but did you feel like I don't know like what your friend group was, but did you feel like kind of like you were robbed of a lot of things like your prom, your graduation, just different things of that nature? Did you feel like, you missed out on doing that, like maybe senior trip or senior prank day or whatever it was because you weren't allowed to be around with anybody? Or were you just kind of like, all right, I'm over this. I just want to get through it?
Yeah, I felt kind of robbed of some things because for my senior class, we did get a senior prom. We didn't get a junior prom,
Mhm.
but we didn't get like senior prank day or anything like that. And our graduation was out on a football field instead of in like an auditorium or something.
Right. And so Vibin, what was your graduation day like? I know you were 2020, so you were still the height of it. I mean, I know first they told the parents that they weren't going to get a graduation day. And normally, where is it at, like the Colonial Arena or something like that?
I'm not sure where it's usually held, but yeah, ours was also held on the football field. We had to sit 6 feet apart, and we all had to wear masks. And
Outside.
yeah, it was outside, and it was pretty hot, so I was like sweating like a pig. And yeah, it was interesting. They had us go up in segmented groups,
Mhm.
and it was I don't know. It was weird. Like not what I was expecting for my graduation, but at least I got a graduation. At least I graduated.
Yeah, but only I know a couple of, there was, I think, 2 tickets per person that could go there. The seats were pushed apart, and I do have some pictures we could put in later of what the graduation ceremonies looked like for the kids, and you see all the parents masked up outside, told that they have to wear a mask. And to me, that's a big problem. I know we were in a phase that we didn't have a lot of information, but still, you're outside, you're in the sweltering area. And I've heard from other people, well, at least you got a graduation. To me, I don't think that was a fair graduation at all. I feel like y'all missed out a lot of things, and you won't realize it until you get older of exactly what you missed, because sometimes if you don't have it, you don't know. But I mean, we had like, you know, all these kind of events leading up to graduation to make memories. And I feel like you guys didn't get to have that.
So one thing was there. So one of the things we didn't get to participate in is there's supposed to be a senior picnic, and that was canceled for us. And we were supposed to get like commemorative like shirts, I think it was, and just like it was supposed to be like a good time. And like all the other seniors got that, but like after starting our year, and I think maybe I'm not sure about the years after, but we didn't get that senior picnic. And it was supposed to be like everybody I heard from that like graduated before me, they're like, yeah, it was a real good time, good seeing everybody one last time and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we never got that.
And do you know if like your school has set up for like any kind of reunion because you didn't get anything, like something maybe you all could do together? Because I know we get like mine coming up is 30 years. But we had like a 15, a 10-year reunion, a 20-year reunion, but there was nothing. But I have to say that one of the classmates that you graduated with, actually, because they did not get a prom, they did their own prom, and the news was there because they did their own prom in the backyard, which I thought was pretty cool. But did you feel like you missed out, any of you, at like hanging with your friends, like any of your friends' parents, like, no, you can't be near them, they you don't know what they're going to get, or you don't know what they have, they don't wear a mask, oh my gosh, you can't hang together? I mean, did any of you have any of that happen to you?
Yeah, there was a period where like I just didn't see anybody because everybody was just afraid of COVID because like at the time like it was really bad and nobody wanted to catch it, so everybody just stayed in their house. And I remember I didn't see my friends for a good few months until like until we finally said screw it, and just met up together.
Right. Quantavius, anything with you? I mean, what happened for you? I mean, you're a little bit quiet there, so I just want to get a little input.
Yeah, sorry. Um, Not necessarily. I mean, I did catch COVID right after I graduated, I want to say. But outside of that, everything was quite a bit normal for me. I mean, obviously, we had to go out with masks and whatnot, which was kind of annoying, but that's all I really got on my side of things.
Right. I mean, did you feel like you missed anything? I know you graduated earlier, you said, from than the rest of the class, but did you feel like you missed anything before it was time to go out in the world? Is there anything that you wish you could have done that COVID took away?
Not necessarily, only due to, you know, outside situations that was happening with me at that time. And I was just kind of in the mindset of, okay, this school isn't really doing anything for me, or, you know, these events don't really align with what I want to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and, dip and do what I need to do.
Right, right. So ask the same question to you, Vibe. And is there something that you feel like was taken away from you um during COVID time, like what you felt, anything that you felt was important was taken away from you?
Just being able to socialize with people.
Okay. And did you feel like after graduation, like what did you think after graduation was going to be like? What did you think in your mind that after you graduated it was going to be like?
I don't really even remember because it's been as how long it's been, and I don't remember what I was really thinking after graduation was going to be like. Like I knew I was going to take a gap year,
Mhm.
and I knew I was just going to take that time to work, and that's basically what I did.
Right. And Ashley, what about you? Is there something that you feel like you missed out on that COVID took away from you as far as maybe not just school experience, but life experience or spending time or doing certain things or, something right before you had to come out into the real world, so to speak?
Um, Not necessarily, although I will say that my work experience was very different because I started working at the very height of COVID, and
Mhm.
that's when I got my first job. And so I had to get used to very quickly the whole mask situation and cleaning all the time and working in retail with that whole thing.
Right. Okay. Well, I just want to thank everybody for sharing their thoughts and stuff. And like I said, as this gets edited, there'll be some articles put in here, some pictures and stuff. And I thank you all for being my first guest. I just kind of wanted to break the ice a little bit. I do have some guests coming up that will be discussing about more serious issues too, even though this is serious as far as how these kids went from being the class of 2021 and 2020, having some COVID stories, some bullying stories, educational, overpopulated classrooms, things that are still a problem today that we need to look into. Um, Hopefully we can get other people and revisit some of these issues with other people regarding it. And other kids, if you want to come forward and talk a little bit about your experiences and what you wish you could change. Like I said, I have some things lined up for people to speak regarding gender ideology, which is now being forced in some of the districts, along with critical race theory that has been discovered in Lexington 1, Lexington 2, and other areas, Richland 2, and different areas in Berkeley County. And Buford and what they're calling book banning, all these issues that we are facing right now. And my purpose for this is for us parents to be aware, stand together, and fill in that gap that the schools are saying that us parents aren't doing. And it's not about a teacher bashing, it's about a problem fixing. And that's what I would like to do. And again, I want to thank everybody again for coming on and giving your point of view. So thank you so much to Quantavius, Vibin, and Ashley. You all have a great day. And thank you
You as well.
on
You
Declassified.
as well.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you for tuning into the first episode of Declassified. Within the next couple weeks, I will have more subjects, and people that like to tell their story of other issues that are going on within the public school in the state of South Carolina. Below you'll find a link that you can contact us if you'd like to tell your story, if you'd like to sponsor, or if you'd like to advertise. If you have any further questions, please contact me. Again, we thank you for your support.